Now, the Gambia's former president, Yahya Jammeh, is accused of having emptied state coffers and shipped out luxury vehicles before leaving the country. Meanwhile, West African troops have entered the capital to prepare for President Adama Barrow's arrival. For more, Thamsanqa Zhou is an Africa analyst based in the UK. He joins us now live from London. Thanks so much for joining us. First, on Yahya Jammeh leaving the country, are these accusations of looting any surprise to you? And do you think he'll remain quietly in Equatorial Guinea, or does he have a plan going forward?
Well, Andrea, the UN and other forces and institutions, including the regional bloc, ECOWAS, have said that they will look after his interests. They have said that they commend Yahya Jammeh for what he has done. We understand that is diplomatic language. That is meant to allow him to be quiet and not involve himself in the political situation in the Gambia. But what is coming out in terms of what Maifat said about the looting and the emptying of the coffers is not a surprise because this is expected to be the tone, the nature of what the coalition government or some people within the coalition government will do, will say, because what they want is to make sure that Jammeh is arrested and he is not allowed to continue being political. There's a very complicated internal deal that the coalition that Adama Barrow, the president of the Gambia, is leading. 8 parties that are part of that deal. The understanding within the internal structures is that Adama Barrow was simply going to be a transitional president. In other words, you would have 3 years within which they will look at all the institutions, they will look at what was done by Yahya Jammeh during the course of his 22 years in power, and then they would have new elections under new rules, and it will be expected that all these parties will contest. So people like Maifat are fighting their own corner. And it will make Adama Barrow's life very, very difficult indeed. Because they are not there yet or they are already talking about what was done to the internal coffers.
Right. That's interesting to hear that Adama's really only set to serve internally as some sort of transitional president. So all those parties that had to unify simply to overcome Yahya Jammeh's rule might now factionalize again and look after their own interests. But let me ask you on another front, this truth and reconciliation that Barrow has promised in order to investigate potential crimes committed under Yahya Jammeh's regime, do you think that's what Gambians need? Will it work, and will it help them heal in a sense?
Whether it will work or it won't work depends on what happens. You don't want a scenario where other people that were working on order are victimized. There are people that know in South Africa there was a degree of acceptance that things have worked. It's not so much about the truth and reconciliation, because this is what Adama Barrow favors as a way forward so that every Gambian, home and away, can appreciate and know exactly what was done, because there are so many people who identify themselves as victims, other people who were imprisoned, and one of his first tasks will be to release those that are called political prisoners and allow others to come back home. We have not been able to enjoy their own country for a very long time. So the truth and reconciliation route is something that Adama Barrow himself sees as reasonable and as proper. But the question is going to be, once you find out what was done, what do you then do? What are then the consequences to those that will have been identified as the perpetrators? One thing will be, I think there's no doubt it is being debated, but it looks like Yahya Jammeh at some point will need to be called to answer for a lot of things that were either done by him or done in his name during the course of the 22 years.
Okay. Thamsanqa Zhou, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your analysis from London.